U/Grixis Necromancer says, I played the long game and surprised even the DM. I'm playing a Warforged Arcana Archer who is, essentially, Fantasy Frankenstein's monster, but book-inspired. Rather than movies, his name is Allahan, and he's a lot of fun. I should note that my DM and players are aware of the fact that Allahan is not a traditional Warforged. Rather than made of metal and living wood, he was created from various body parts. Needless to say, he's grisly to look at, which is why he is so thoroughly covered. However, no one knows in-game. I describe him as wearing full body leather coverings. Think the ORG-13 cloak. Under the hood, he has a wooden mask, meaning nothing of his skin is revealed at any point in time. He does not sleep, so attempts to peek under his cloak are never really successful. He stuffs his pockets and all inside the cloak with what amounts to potpourri, always adding nice smelling plants he encounters. Every time he meets someone new, and I do mean every time, he makes a best guess at what their race is. He then says something along the lines of, "Hello, fellow human. I am human." It looks especially funny when this 7-foot-tall behemoth tells a dwarf, "I am also dwarf." Always gets a laugh from the party. When a woman was upset because her son was taken by cultists, he reached into his sleeve and pulled out a handful of dried flowers and put it into her hands. "This is a gift. Feel better." Before she can respond, he holds out his hand. "I need that back now." He's played a bit as a comic relief, who happens to be terrifyingly efficient in combat. He easily has the highest kill count in the party, which is understandable since he stands back with a heavy crossbow, raining death on cultists. It's magnificent. At one point, we were asked to capture a high-ranking cultist, which we did thanks to some hilarity. In the evening, we attend a celebration and feast, but Allahan isn't eating or drinking. He's simply watching. And I tell the DM that if he notices anyone looking at him, he locks eyes, not that they are visible, and stares the person down until they look away. At some point, he piles his plate up with food and, with all the subtlety of an orc barbarian trying to sneak, throws the plate of food over his shoulder and comments that it was tasty. I am told that the people of the keep are well and thoroughly afraid of him at this point. We later learn that there were unsuccessful attempts to get info from the priestess. A few more in-game days pass, and I tell the DM that Allahan waits until the priestess is alone and goes into her cell. My DM, genius that she is, plays along with this scene perfectly. Allahan enters and stands stock still, quietly saying, "When the next time they come to speak to you, you are going to tell them everything." It's important to note that up until this point, Allahan's voice has always been friendly, even when he was talking to enemies that he was currently trying to kill. Not anymore. It had gotten deeper, more serious. Gone was the inflection of the carefree giant who liked flowers and weirding out peasants. The priestess responds, "Or what? What will you do?" It's at this point that Allahan approaches. He simultaneously removes his mask and hood, and the players are paying rapt attention. Allahan has never done this before. I describe how he has ashen skin, with scar tissue lining areas where the tone doesn't match up quite right. Allahan, directly in her face, snarls, "Or I will eat you alive." Intimidate. At advantage, 19 on the roll. Plus like 5 or something, I don't recall. She rolls a 2 against my check. She's terrified. She then must also make a con save, which she also fails, becoming sick and letting loose the scant contents of her stomach. Allahan stands back up and puts his hood and mask back on, telling her, "Remember, tell them everything." As he leaves, he says, that cannot die which lies eternal dreaming, and with strange eons even death may die. The weird motto from Lovecraft that I decided is his, mantra. He goes immediately to the dwarf in charge of the fort and tells him that the priestess will talk next time they go to question her. "How did you manage that?" he asks, clearly suspicious. They'd threatened her, even tortured her. This dwarf knew their prisoner wasn't going to crack easily. Allahan simply replies, "I asked nicely." The next morning, he accompanies the dwarf, along with our rogue, to speak with the prisoner. The moment Allahan walks into the room, she begins to weep. The dwarf looks at me. "What did you do?" Allahan simply stares at her, as she sobs his little poem. He says, "I asked nicely." And that was how I convinced everyone I was playing a comic relief character, when in fact, I am playing a terrifying monster who has convinced a group of adventurers that he's harmless. I can't wait for the next session. So what do you think of this story? Who would you prefer to meet in the woods? The friendly giant who is secretly a monster on the inside? Or would you like to see for what he is the first time you meet him? Tell me down in the comments. I'd like to know what you guys have to say. Also, you should check out this guy's story. It's in the description. If you'd like to get more of my content, please subscribe and hit that bell icon, and that way you will be notified as soon as I upload my next video. I will be trying my best to upload at least twice a week. I am a senior in high school though, so I will see what happens. And as always, continue D&Ding.